People. Okay, good morning, Wildcats. We are here this morning for Taco Tuesday on, November 3rd. It is voting day, so I have my sticker on. I've been out and voted, so hope everybody goes out and votes. Let's start off with a few good things. We're waiting for some other folks to join us, but I believe maybe at the high school, there might have been a game last week. Did I hear that?
Or actually, what's better is we have a game next week.
I know, is that exciting?
That's the exciting part. The game last week we knew we were going to have, but because they performed so well, we get to do it again. So yes, we'll be taking on Wamego in our. I think this is really like last week was historically our first win, and I don't know if it was the first playoff game that we ever got to host. We may have hosted some in the past, but. This is certainly this Friday will be the first time that we host a second round playoff game ever. So that's pretty exciting when Wamego comes to town. I'm not sure what Wamego looks like, so we'll have to wait and see.
Well, we're excited. We congratulate the football team, congratulate the coaches. First playoff win in the history of ever for us. And so we're very excited and very proud of them. And we'll be in the stands cheering this week too. So ready for win number 2. We're not done yet. We got a long way to go. So other good things that are going on. Middle school, elementary, what you got?
Students have done well with hybrid. Yesterday attendance was pretty good. So thank you, parents. We know it's difficult and to make sure kids are getting in on those Zooms. So appreciate the flexibility and hard work with that. It's a transition.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk more about that here in just a few minutes. Anything at elementary going on? I mean, I know there is, but Stan, what's a good thing going on over at Skelly?
I don't know about the other schools, but the weather is absolutely beautiful.
Recess.
Kids getting out and playing, which we weren't able to do last week, so that's helping quite a bit. We don't have to make the adjustments for mask breaks and things like that. So weather is good.
That's always a huge help. All right, so let's jump in this morning. And I know we want to talk a little bit about the gating criteria and how that is used and where that is used and what that sort of looks like, because that has been, we did, as Mrs. King mentioned, we moved into hybrid at the secondary level. We yellow as a district based on our gating team criteria. So I want to talk about that a little bit so folks understand, because interestingly enough, our surveillance data was actually fairly low last week in comparison to other weeks. And there is not one point in time or one data point that triggers any particular level. It really is. And way back in July, when we started talking about this, you heard me describe it as it would be like calling a snow day. And honestly, it really is like calling a snow day. So when we call a snow day, how that works is, yes, we get up around 4:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, between 4 and 4:30, and we go out. We've been monitoring weather reports. We monitor the National Weather Service bulletins that I get in email. We have somebody who drives country roads and our rural routes. We have somebody who drives city routes. I try to make sure I hit every building in the district and go through bus drives and look and see what our buildings look like from the outside. And then we are in communication constantly through that time period while we're out driving and examining the current situation we're in. We're talking to other districts about what they're seeing to see what, in comparison to kind of where we are and what we're seeing in town and the rural routes. And then at some point we make that decision. And I know we've all been there because the principals will raise their hand if they agree. We've all called a snow day at some point, and then by the middle of the afternoon, it's a beautiful 50 degrees in Kansas because Kansas weather can change that quickly. So there is no perfect science to calling a snow day. Well, there's no perfect science or one trigger point that triggers where we are with gating team criteria. So the board adopted the gating team criteria from the State Department with some minor adjustments. That minor adjustment, to be honest, allows our football teams and all of our sports teams, not just our football teams, but the high-risk teams, which are football, wrestling, lacrosse. We do not have a lacrosse team, and stunting, cheer. That allows all of those teams to still continue to play because they moved that over into one of the orange categories so that our students could be out there playing way longer. So I thought we would walk through that a little bit today and kind of talk about what that looks like. There is an advisory group that includes parents, our nurses, district and building leadership. I'm trying to think through the whole list. Community connections, people, a variety of different people on that committee that provide input, just like there is when we do a snow day. There's multiple of us that go out and drive and kind of have input on making that decision. Part of the reason you do that, and you have an advisory committee, the health department is on that committee. The health department sees the data at a much different level than we do because they interact with it every day. They interact with all the schools across the county. They interact with public groups like the school districts. They also interact with private individuals, companies. They have a complete, and the correctional facility, they have a complete picture of what that looks like. And the analogy I like to use is a beach ball. A beach ball has a yellow stripe, it has a red stripe, it has a blue stripe. If I'm holding the beach ball and I'm looking at it from my side, I see the blue stripe. I don't see the red stripe on the other side. And just like when I'm out driving roads in the morning, I'm looking at our in-town roads and our school roads, our school drives and those things. Somebody else is looking at, that's my blue stripe. Somebody else is looking at the red stripe of rural routes. All of those input and all of that information is important when you make a decision. So I thought we would talk a little bit first about what is in the gating criteria and help answer some questions. So for those of you who have joined us, if you have questions, be sure to put them in the chat box and we will get to them. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. This is our gating criteria. It's been out there for folks to see. And you'll notice that in each one of the levels, things are handled differently. So depending on the data that you have, and we'll get to the data in a minute, different things are handled different ways in each of those categories. So for example, when we're in green, on-site is the learning model, and here's what that means for visitor access. Because there have been questions like, well, how can we be in this model, but kids still having practices? Well, education is we're providing that. Extracurricular activities are optional for folks to be involved in. When we're in yellow, how does that change? What does that, how does it shift for spectators that are with us? Or the playgrounds, what happens to playgrounds that are open at all of our buildings? So each of the categories, these kind of things, school activities, learning environments, spectators, visitors, playgrounds, those are all handled kind of on an individual basis. So sometimes, and don't get me wrong, I don't disagree. Sometimes it seems like a misfit when you do this, but we can't do that. It does seem like a misfit. I understand that completely. And some of that is the guidance that came to us from the Navigating Change document from the State Department. This is the data points that we actually look at in the gating team criteria. And I will tell you right now that we look at a variety of different pieces. So we look at state data. Oh, and my mouse is going to move that around. So let me shut that off. We look at state data. We look at building data. We look at district data. We look at county by zip code data. And we're also looking at updates from the emergency management department every day. We get those daily. So there's different data points and they come in at different times, just like on a snow day. Sometimes the ice starts first and then the sleet comes and then the snow comes. It all comes at different points and you just kind of pull that data together. And that's really what the team does every week, to try to pull as much information as we possibly can together to get a clear picture of as clear a picture as we can of what's going on. So we look at these data points. What is the 2-week county % positive case rate? What's the 2-week cumulative county incident rate? Some of the data that's kept at the state level has the correctional facility inmate information in it as well. So the health department's able to kind of factor that out for us and help us kind of determine where are we as a organization or the county per se. This is the information we use, sorry, it keeps moving around, that when we are looking at the data. So when we look at the 2-week county percent positive case rate, what percent are we at? Are we at 10? Are we at below 10? Are we above 15? Are we in 5? Interestingly enough, mainly because this is how it always works, the data does not all fall in the same category. So even, it's not like we go down the list and go, check, check, check. Oh, my check marks are not good. Check, check. It doesn't quite work like that. It falls kind of all over the place sometimes. And so you have to kind of use the best information you have to make some of those decisions. So let me show you where we get some of that information so that you can have a good idea of where that comes from. So we start on this page right here. Actually, if I can move this. Yes, we start on this page right here. This is the KDHE, the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. This is their website. We start by looking at hospital capacity data, and it takes a minute to load. And as I'm sure you've heard in our local news, the hospital capacity in South Central Kansas, at least in Wichita and Sedgwick County, and even in Butler County, is a little bit of a challenge right now. But we go down here and we look at, this is the hospital capacity for intensive care units across the state. We don't look across the state. We only look at South Central. So we pull that data and literally we go line by line by line, looking at each one of those dates to see what that capacity looks like, what hospital bed capacity looks like. That's one piece of information. That's one piece of data. We also then go to the school gating metrics. And there's a video here you can watch if you want to understand how it's a tutorial. It kind of goes step by step through it. Percent positive cases are here. Trend rates are here. We'll look at, let's just pick incident rates right now. We do, as a group, take the information. We don't go by the state data here. We dig down into, we unselect that and we select just Butler County. So we get just Butler County data. We look at the data as a whole. We also look at just our 0 to 17. It obviously doesn't get our 18-year-olds, but the group decided that the 18 to 24, we're not interested in the 19 through 24, and we didn't want that to skew the data, if you will. And so this is what we pull for that part. And then back to the matrix. We also do the same thing with positivity rate. So we look at positivity rate across the board. We look at positivity rate by 0 to 17 in the 2-week percent positive case. All of that information, that's step 1. Step 2, and I hope I can switch over here. Did it switch to the Butler County page? Yep, okay, good. All right, so nope, I wanna stay here on this page. We then go to the Butler County page because Butler County geographically is a very large county. And so we take that data. This data is updated on Mondays. The state data that we just looked at, they're dumping data into there all the time. Frequently, I don't know how frequently the state does it, but it gets updated frequently. Our county numbers get updated once a week. We also then get a daily email from the Butler County Emergency Management that talks about the number of new cases in the county. That is not broken down by zip code, but that is just additional information so we are looking at daily pieces, we're looking at county pieces, we're looking at zip code pieces, state pieces. And like I said, it's a little bit like calling a snow day sometimes. So this is not loading well for me right now. Does anybody notice that? But this piece of information, when it loads, actually has our zip codes, and you can click on it and it will tell you how many active cases you have in each one of the zip codes. And I don't know why it's not It does not want to load this morning. Let's see if I can stop it and restart. Maybe if we reload it, it will magically appear. Fingers crossed. Okay, well, that did not fix. Oh, wait, it did something. Let's see. Nope. It is not going to load right now. So, but you can look at that, just Butler County zip code data, and it will pop up for you. So, okay, principals and Doug and Julie, did I miss anything?
No, I think covered it pretty well.
That's kind of how it works. I will tell you, and I think these people here with me today would support this. There isn't a better place for kids to be learning than in our classrooms. We absolutely know that. One of the things we have done is there are districts, and every district does it a little differently. Some districts are making those decisions and having them set for a period of time, whether it's a 9 weeks or a semester. Other districts are making those decisions in 2-week periods. We have chosen to have our meetings weekly. We meet on Thursday, and then we update everybody on Fridays so that people have the weekend to prepare, because we feel like that's an important piece of the puzzle. We feel like we owe that to people, that if we know changes could happen overnight. It has happened in other districts where they have had to go to remote from in-person overnight. And our goal is to never have that happen if we can keep that from happening, so that our parents have time to prepare and can make those adjustments. So on Fridays, we release that information, and hopefully that helps. Oh, okay. So the question is, why did K-5 not go hybrid? That is a great question. The reason that goes back to the gating criteria. Let me pull that back up. That has to do with this piece right here. When the in the navigating change document, it talked about, whoa, look at me moving things. I hope I will definitely not save that when they gave us the navigating change document from KSDE, they outlined these. I will tell you that our school board they made a slight change. That's one of the changes we made. We moved over high-risk activities from yellow to orange. And in yellow, it was that you could decide between on-site and hybrid. And our board decided on-site during yellow for pre-K-5 and hybrid for 6-12. I guess I could be mistaken because it's been a few weeks and it's been a few months. But Bruce, do you remember, was remote an option in yellow for?
I think that if I remember, I'm remembering it the same way you did, that it was for if it was a yellow on-site for pre-K to 5 and hybrid 6-12. That they adopted it as the navigating change document had put it out. The only change I recall was moving high-risk activities into the orange rather than having them also be in yellow.
Yeah. Okay, good. That was a great question. All right. Other questions out there? I will tell you that it's definitely not easy. The decisions are never easy. We want our kids with us every chance we get. And I'm hoping, to be honest, I haven't gone into all of the data. I don't do it daily. I do it once a week in preparation for the meeting, because it's hard to keep up with at the state level when they update things all the time. But I really hope that our numbers look like we can get kids back. No, actually, even in hybrid right now, that affected learning model. But remember, on the gating criteria, the question was, with us being in hybrid, does that limit our number of spectators for the games? Right now, the spectators are treated separately. So we're still with the 25%. We're giving out vouchers just like we did last week for the game. We're doing our best to try to balance all of those things. I don't know that there is a perfect balance in any of that. We're just trying to do the best we can for our kids and our parents, so they can be there at the games with the kids to see them. So as of right now, hybrid is the yellow category is really impacting just the secondary being hybrid. And then all of the things like the face masks and social distancing at the game for spectators, we still have those pieces in place, but we're not limiting. We're still staying within our 25%. And we're fortunate because we have BG, and BG Stadium is huge, and that allows us a little extra space for that. So we feel very blessed by that. That's a great question. All right, anything else? Any other good questions out there that we may have missed? No? Okay. All right, so I have a kudos that was listed, and this one is to Mr. Ruff. Are you ready, Stan? They have a 4th grader at Skelly, and the teachers have been amazing and on top of everything. They have kiddos all doing remote, and the teachers are helpful, understanding. They make them feel a part of the class even when they aren't in class. We have had some challenges with food service, not challenges, but we have lunches available at 12:30 at the high school for pickup for remote. The challenge has been making sure you order by 9:30 that morning so we can make sure we have enough food on hand. And last week there was a question about extra food at the high school secondary level, as those kids are, growing, and they are working diligently to try to get a la carte up and running. So we have a couple of staffing hires coming on board, and they are working to make that happen. So fingers crossed, a la carte will be an option soon at the high school. And I believe a popular one, unless I'm wrong, Bruce. They
Very popular. They've been asking all year. So yeah, very popular choice.
We're excited to get that back in place. So, all right. Well, I want to say a quick thank you. I know wearing masks, not the funnest thing in the world, 6-foot distancing, but we appreciate everybody who is coming to the games and has been coming to the games and following those spectator guidelines to help keep our kids on the court and on the field and in classrooms. It means the world to us. We know it's not fun, and we appreciate your help and your support. And all we can say is one thing: go Wildcats this weekend. Let's do it some more. All right. Have a great afternoon. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Take care.